Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron channel. I was trying to get ready the Dr. Mike video and I couldn't figure out where the heck it was. How you guys doing? Welcome to Friday. It's time to do some lifting stuff. The week is over, right? The week is over. Good riddance to the week and all the work. And so sad for those of you guys that have to work on the weekends. Uh, but I'm glad you guys are here. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And forget work. Just make sure you're here every week. Good morning, Derek, Andreas, Rolf, Stan. We got all the countries. We got all the countries here this morning tuning in. So before we get started, this is Massive Iron Live. I'm here every Friday, answer all your questions. So if you're new here, don't hesitate to post up your question. I'm here to help. Even if you think the question's been asked 1,000 times before, please ask it. I'm here to help. And some folks have been asking about time stamping. I don't have time to timestamp, but if any of you want to volunteer and timestamp for me, you can DM me on Instagram at BenTheBarman. Slide into my DM and say, hey, I would like to timestamp for you. You can hit me up on Instagram. I'd be willing to send you something free for your troubles. So if anybody has an interest in time stamping every week, just let me know. A lot of people ask, on my videos and stuff, why don't I do this? Why don't do that? Someone yesterday on my video on Trap said, why do you use a webcam? Why do you have ghetto quality? Man, I'm working. I work with clients all week. I don't have time to have like expensive setups, and I don't have a budget for a crew. That's what that's how Massive Iron is about. It's about the iron. It's about results. It's about information. And I've always been ghetto. So if anybody doesn't get it, sorry, man, but that's just the way we do things. Now, before I start here, if your question isn't going through, that's not me censoring you. That's not me blocking you, throttling you. It's just YouTube. So try shortening your, the light came on. Try shortening your question or rephrasing it or whatever. I thought my wife was going to come say hi, but she just turned on the light and walked by with the dog. So just a reminder, if you post a question before live starts every week, you get a chance to win a Massive Iron shirt, hoodie, whey protein, creatine, or Team Massive membership. So I was gonna do a review of Dr. Mike's video. You guys want me to do that live? Chime in real quick. Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. It would be about 10 minutes before for us to watch a video and react to Dr. Mike's. Where is it? To react to Dr. Mike's How to Build Muscle Fast. You guys want me to do that? Let me just pop it up here and kind of shrink this down so we don't see all the comments and all that good stuff. I'm going to run through this. We're getting a lot of thumbs up. So let's see what Dr. Mike has to say. And before we get into the questions, as soon as this is done, I'll dive into your questions. But let's see what Dr. Mike here has to say. How to train for maximum size fast. And then you guys can drop your comments in down below. Let me know what you think about my reaction, just about his general thoughts. And probably won't disagree. If anything, we'll just kind of split hairs on the minors. But let's go. Let's stop talking and let's listen.
First, you want to train 6 times a week because 6 times a week training allows you to train your body harder and signal more muscle growth than training 4 or 5 times a week. You could say, but Dr. Mike, I get great gains, you tell me, off of 4 days a week training. Dope. You would get better gains if you train 6 days a week.
All right. So interesting starts. I will say that, when I look at when someone comes to me, I usually the problem, and Mike's not solving problems here. He's probably assuming your training is hard to begin with, but I think the cornerstone of when somebody comes to me is trying to get them training hard, making what they're doing really count. So I guess I'm going to split hairs a little bit here. And I guess it's all where you're framing things. If somebody's already training hard, then could they do a little bit more? Yeah, I mean, I hate arbitrary numbers. I really do. We want to push the needle to the point where we're recovering. Okay. So, one thing that irritates me a little bit in the lifting world, and this isn't an attack on Dr. Mike, is when we push arbitrary numbers, like arbitrary rep schemes, arbitrary numbers per day. And here, unfortunately, we're at 6 days a week. The first thing I'll just leave it with this. The first thing you want to do is try to make sure you're maximizing your training. You want to make sure that you're getting as much out of everything you're doing. And then from there, if there's room, when we talk about adding in volume, we're talking about adding in weekly volume. A lot of times when we talk about adjusting volume based on needs, people assume it's like just in one workout, right? But it's really, when we look at volume, it has to be over the course of a week, right? So in the massive iron world, we generally start with 72 hard sets a week and we program that in. That's a starting point. And then from there, we kind of add volume in on a needs basis. Someone will say, hey, can I add in more abs work? Can I add in calves work? Can I add in forearms work? My triceps, I'd like to add in another triceps exercise. This is stuff I do with my clients every single day. So we're kind of naturally evolving volume. So I would encourage you guys to take this approach, to get to the place where you're training hard and then to kind of naturally evolve volume. Does that make sense? And then if you find you're pushing too hard in one area, then we can pull back a little bit. So, all right, so let's just continue on here.
Most of the most serious bodybuilders in the world train 5 or 6 days a week. Sometimes they even do 2-a-days where they end up training 9 or 10 times a week, but 6 days, multiple sessions per day.
I would agree with what he says. The top level guys do it, but the top level guys also are generally on a lot of enhancements. They also, that's what they do for a living, or it's so serious, it's their main hobby. So for the rest of us, we have to kind of frame it properly. If you're just trying to get the most muscle mass you can, you really don't need to train more than 4 to 5 days a week. You don't really need to. If you're trying to be the best bodybuilder in the world, then it makes more sense to train more days. Look, I train 4 to 5 days a week, and there's still areas that I'm missing. Like, I don't have time to train my abs properly, my calves properly, my forearms properly. There are things that lack because of time. Still getting in a little work for each of these, but if I wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world, the best bodybuilder I could be, I would probably add in extra days for that reason. For most of you, though, we need to de-escalate the paranoia a little bit. 3 to 4 days is fine for most of us. When you look at over a 5 to 10 year period of time, you're going to get all the mass you really need. And if you're chasing max natural potential or maximum mass as a natural or whatever, 3 to 4 days is going to be fine over the course of 10 years. 4 is kind of my sweet spot, but we have to really ground things in the reality of life, right? We have school, we have work, we have families, we have stress, we have things going on. So if you can get to 4 days a week, great. 3 to 3.5 during those storms, that's still fine. That's still absolutely fine. Focus on hard training. If you can do 5, great. But man, it's all about balance, and just keep that in mind. These guys, when he says these top guys are training 6 days a week, that's usually their job or their main passion or their main, consuming fire in life.
A lot of training is critical. Remember, this is not a video about how to grow muscle well. It is a video about how to grow the most muscle. You're going to train a lot. Next, each muscle group that you train, you're going to want to train 2 to 4 times per week. That means if you're training your biceps, your shoulders, your triceps, your forearms, your calves, they may be done 3 or 4 times a week in their own workouts or workouts integrated with other muscle groups. If you're training muscle,
guys, this is just not really correct. If you look at the history of lifting, the one thing we learn is it does, like, frequency doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, if you're training your bench, your shoulders are going to get trained indirectly. If you train your shoulders, you know, your rear delts are going to get worked, your traps. There's carryover because this is compound movement. So it's kind of built into lifting to begin with. If you have a well-rounded program, you're going to be fine. I don't want to fuel the frequency paranoia because I've seen most of my clients train twice a week. Okay. But I lived through generations, 15, 20 years where there was only body part splits and everybody had the same results as the frequency group. In fact, I would argue that before we really confused things, the results were a little bit better. I don't care if you do body part splits. I don't care if you do full body, but I implore you guys to think of things in terms of weekly volume rather than how frequently you train. It's not going to make any difference. Train the way you want, but think in terms of weekly volume rather than frequency training. We're splitting hairs here. Like I said, most of my clients train 2 times a week. So I'm certainly not against that at all. I just think it comes down to personal preference, but we don't need to create any more fear over body part splits.
Muscles that take a little bit longer to heal, like hamstrings, quads, glutes, chest, sometimes back, you're going to be training them 2 or 3 times a week. Every time they are not sore and not tired, you train them again. And you
all right. So he chained this to soreness. And that's a really bad thing to do. I mean, it's misguided. We can't change things to soreness because soreness varies muscle group to muscle group. There, in 38 years of training, there's been muscle groups that for me that never get sore. Like shoulders aren't possible to get sore. So using soreness as a guideline to how frequently you should train is super arbitrary and it's super random. It really, really is. Because we're kind of elevating soreness as the be-all, end-all. And if we know anything, it's not. Hard training is. There are muscle groups that simply don't get sore for me, that simply don't. And everybody has muscle groups like that, even when they're training hard. In fact, I would go even further. When we look at soreness, and this is something I've talked about over the years, different muscle groups have different degrees of soreness. Now, why is that? This is something I've discussed, and I wish guys like Brad Schoenfeld and other guys would get into this a little bit. But the connective tissue and fascia in and around a muscle group is unique. Each muscle group has a unique fascia connective tissue makeup. Now, the sensory neurons in the fascia and muscle tissue they're 9 times stronger when it comes to pain sensitivity. So than muscle tissue. So if you inflict pain during a chest workout, the fascia has 9 times more sensory neurons or sensory neuron sensitivity than the muscle tissue. I forget which it is. It's been like 10 years since I looked at this. But I know that the connective tissue is more sensitive to pain by a degree of 9. So what this means is when you experience soreness or stiffness or pain, there's a good chance you're feeling it in the fascia or connective tissue and not actually the muscle. So most of the soreness we feel is in the connective tissue and fascia. This would make sense because each muscle group has a different fascia and connective tissue makeup. So the chest tends to get more sore than the shoulders. Why? Because the fascia makeup is different. Maybe there's a different degree or density of sensory neurons, right? Like your pain receptors or things that signal pain. So we have to keep this in mind. But overall, I do not like chaining this to soreness. I think you guys would agree that's a little bit misguided.
Program appropriately. If you think training 6 days a week means you train legs once and back once and chest once and shoulders once, you've got another thing coming. Multiple time a week training. It's a lot of training. When you're actually in the training,
it's not a lot of training. It's again, it comes down to weekly volume. It doesn't matter how frequently you split it up. It's gonna come down to weekly volume.
Every single set, you train at least to 3 reps in the tank.
Well, I will say this. I mean, I don't think we really disagree here, but if you're using a set that's more than like 3 reps away from a failure, I have different progression methods that I use, and one of the standard ones and some of the minor sets is that you do only the last set of an exercise for max safe reps, and the first 2 sets sometimes can get 2 or maybe 3 RIR. So we don't disagree here. I will say if you get more than 2 to 3 reps in reserve out on a set, it's probably junk volume or a warm-up.
When the bar starts to...
All right, so let's see if we can skip to number 4 here. And wait, we got something popped up there.
Doing usually 4 to 10 sets per muscle group per workout. That means, let's say it's 6 sets. When I train biceps Monday, 6 sets of biceps. Wednesday, 6 sets of biceps. Friday, I have more time to heal after. I do 8 sets of biceps.
All right, so 20 sets of biceps, okay, which would imply that Mike is probably if you're doing 20 sets. I'm just thinking through this logically, so work this through with me, guys. If Dr. Mike is doing 20 sets for biceps a week, that's what he said. I'm just taking his word. Then you're probably doing like 20 sets for triceps. And you're probably doing a little bit more for major muscle groups, right? Quads, back, shoulders, chest. We're just assuming, right? It makes logical sense. So let's say you have chest, shoulders, quads, and back, and you're doing 25 a week based on what he just said on biceps. That's 100 sets. We toss in 20 for biceps, that's 120. We toss in 20 for triceps, that's 140. And he mentioned training all the other minor muscle groups, calves and whatnot. So let's bump it to 160. 160 sets a week. That is over 22 hard sets a day, 7 days a week. 160 divided by 6, you're getting like 27, 28 hard sets a day, 6 days a week. Guys, I'm here to tell you, if you are training that hard, I do about 18 hard sets a day, and it crushes me. I'm in the gym 90 to 100 minutes, and I don't mess around. As a more advanced lifter, I'm just being honest with you. If you're doing 27, 28 hard sets a day, 6 days a week, you're in the gym 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes. So if you want to train 6 days a week, 2.5 hours a day, and you can recover from that, God bless you. Most of us can't and won't. So I want you to just, I'm not bashing Dr. Mike here at all, but we need to frame what he is saying in the real world, what it would apply to you guys. And that's way too unbalanced for me. I literally don't want to train that much. And you literally don't need to train that much to look good as a natural or otherwise. You really, really don't. It's a little bit stretching things. It's a little bit excessive. And I don't want you guys at all to feel like you need to get to this level. 72 hard sets a week is a good grounding point. You do that over 10 10 weeks or 10 years, you're going to be absolutely fine. That's 4 hard training days a week. You want to squeeze in 5, that's fine. But these are workouts that are going to be at least an hour 15, maybe an hour and 30 minutes as you get more advanced. That's a lot of work, folks. That's a lot of work. And he's doubling that here. My brain can't comprehend the time and energy investment. This is stuff for pros, you know.
That's a lot of bicep work, but you wanted the fastest growth, remember?
Yeah, you want a fast approach, but I would add in this fast approach is likely going to beat the living crap out of you guys. It could be a nice short run program, 4 to 5 months. If you have 4 to 5 months to gun it and slap on the feed bag, I mean, really slap on the feed bag. That's when this type of approach would probably be best. All right, so let's just see here.
Every week, you add a little bit of load to each exercise and you try to hit the same.
Right, progressive overload. You need a progressive overload plan. And if you're training between 0 to 3 reps in reserve, it's going to naturally facilitate that. So we get that. So no issue there. Let's move on to number 5.
Because you're too fatigued after 4 to 8 weeks of consistent training like this, probably closer to 4 if you're really doing 6 days a week hard, you're going to want to take a deload week. That's a week.
I would say if you're training like Dr. Mike, you probably do need a deload week once a month. But you know what? It begs the question, if training this hard commands a deload week every 4th week, wouldn't it be worth it just to kind of cruise a little bit easier and not train as hard? So we have a guest in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. We have a special guest in the studio.
Yes.
We have Bubba Sausage.
His name is Bubba.
We have Bubba Sausage.
Bubba is here.
Mr. Sausages. How you doing, Mr. Sausage? And we have my lovely wife.
Oh, big old Snoopy Doo.
This is Bubba, and this is Snoopy Doo.
Yeah.
My buddy boy is in getting fixed today right now, so I'm eagerly awaiting the phone call to bring him home.
Yes. And then Snoopy will probably drag him around by his
Bubba!
donut that is around his neck.
Bubba! All right, I'm gonna get back to work.
I'm
guys.
going.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you have
The
fun.
boys will probably just act like crazy and protect the world and bark at everything in the whole fucking.
Oh, you can't swear during my
and
live.
the whole door.
Stop fucking
I
swearing.
got all my stuff.
Okay, we're gonna get back at it,
So I'll
guys.
probably go straight to dance class.
Okay, have fun.
Okay.
All right, so deload. If we gets back to the question, if you're going to train this hard and it commands a deload every 4 weeks, maybe you should just pace yourself so you don't have to deload as frequently. Just a thought, not hating. So
I just lost
we
thousands of
don't
dollars.
want to do commercials here and have YouTube ban us. So let me just wait for the commercial to get done. YouTube is very picky. All right. So Dr. Mike's 1 gram of protein. Here's what I don't like. And this kind of like per pound of body weight. There's such a wide, let's ground this in the real world. There's such a wide range in coaching of body weights. I have 10% of my clients that weigh 130 to 145 pounds. And then I have the bigger guys, right? So I don't like stapling things to body weight. I think it's a little bit old schooly, right? We have to kind of look at calorie range. And when you coach in the real world, and that's no disrespect meant to Mike, you realize there's a wide variety of calorie intakes at all ages. You can have men under 30 that need 20 that maintain at 2,400, men under 30 that maintain at 4,400. I have this right now in Team Massive, and I have this right now with my client base. So we have to consider balance. We have to consider macronutrient balance. So we also have to consider the real world, the non-juicing world. Well, the average man, I say try to keep your protein redlined at 150. I know plenty of and this is not hyperbole. I know plenty of guys close to their natty potential that really don't overconsume protein more than 150, 160 grams a day. You're fine in that range. You're fine. You're not going to break anything down. Does this mean you need to go that low? No. 170 to 180 for the average male is a good goal. And 200, 220. If you really like protein and you're eating more calories, that's fine as well. But don't think for a second that if you don't hit these levels, that you're going to break. If your protein is down around 120, 110 as a male, then you probably have some unbalanced eating going on. Now, as a woman, usually I say aim for around 110, maybe 110, 120. If you go below 100, you're a little bit unbalanced. All right, let's continue onward here. What do we got next? Let me backtrack.
That, but no more is beneficial. Less than that, probably unwise. You want plenty of protein. Next, you want to spread your protein and the rest of your food into 4 to 5 evenly spaced meals, roughly evenly spaced meals throughout the day. That means you wake up.
Okay, so there is the science of optimization, and there is kind of the big picture. So let me explain. The science of optimization says it's probably a good idea to eat about 4 meals a day spaced out. This used to be a little bit bro sciencey, but when we understand optimization, the research seems to say it's better. But when we look at the big picture of all the lifters that ever were, and how they train and how they eat and, that kind of good stuff, it really doesn't matter as long as your calories are consistent, your protein's consistent over a long period of time. This is more important. It's easy to think optimization, right? I have to eat 4 times a day, spaced out evenly calories, and elevate that, when the real thing we should be elevating is consistency over a long period of time. I will tell you the biggest challenge I run into in coaching with guys that are crushing it in the gym is getting them to get their heads out of their ass when it comes to nutrition. A lot of them just take it lightly or as an afterthought. Yeah, food. No, I mean, you need to be precise with food. That's more important than, I don't really give a crap how many times a day you eat or when you're eating your protein spacing. If you're not consistent with your calories and you're not paying attention to, nailing your bulk, you're just lifting weights and shooting yourself in the foot. We need to be focused as a community on setting proper weight gain goals, proper bulking goals, matching our calories to our bulk, and actually sticking to it. All right, let's move forward here a little bit and get this over with. Eating a surplus. The calories is arbitrary. I can tell you that we should really be focused on gaining about 10 pounds over 3, 4, 5 months, depending on it, 4 to 5 months. 4 is kind of the sweet spot, but somewhere in that range, it can be a little bit challenging to dial in. So I don't like to focus on calories. I like to focus on a proper bulk. Now, if you're training how hard Dr. Mike here is in this video, you probably need to be eating more than that because you are killing it in the gym and you have recovery demands. And if you're going to run a program like this, I would probably heavily advocate more food, a little bit more aggressive of a bulk. All right, we got a couple left here. That's sleep enough yet, blah, blah, blah. Get enough sleep. That is super important. Take your sleep seriously. Rest as much as possible and be consistent. That's a given. All right, guys, let's move on to questions. Let me know what you thought of all that spiel, and let's get into things. All right. Good morning, Massive Mammals. What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Let's roll. Big Bob, happy Friday. Tim, happy Friday. How's your cut going? Good. I had pizza last night, but even when I have pizza, I'm doing okay. So I was actually down a pound this week, even with a little bit of a pizza cheat. So My dog's going crazy. Snoopy. Rico, what's going on? What's the plan this weekend? Work, work, and work. Work and work. I do client workouts every Saturday. So that's really about it. We're having a low-key weekend. We have a bunch of stuff we have to get ready for our home loan. So I'm not doing anything crazy this weekend. What's going on, Yvonne? HB, happy Friday. I have a female friend who wants to start lifting, but yeah. Look, you have a female friend who's afraid she's going to look like Arnold. You need to be honest with her and say, this is stupid. This is dumb. Like, men can't even look like Arnold. Look, go into the gym, say, Susie, let's have a reality talk, Susie. Susie, let's walk into the gym. Where are all the women? Right? No, you need to show her what women look like that lift properly. And overly, if you don't lift Susie, you're going to look like a sack of crap. That's what you're going to look like. You're going to look like a saggy sack of crap with a slow metabolism. Look, it's hard to convince people because people have stupid ideas like this. And this is a stupid, archaic idea. It's the same type of, group think that many people are trapped in. But either you need to ask Susie or whatever her name is, are you willing to listen to what things really are, or are you going to stay connected to this nonsense? Most men don't look anywhere near what they want to look like. So this is such a dead horse issue. And I'm not being dismissive of the question, but you need to explain to her, this is a 1940s thinking, right? This is a 1950s thinking. This is like, it's time to grow up, Susie. It doesn't work that way. All right. On my current cut, I found using protein shakes and fruit get me through the day without much hunger until I hit big meals, getting around 90 grams of protein from powder. No, it's not too much. You want to look at your overall, micronutrient content and make sure you're getting in some meat each day. I like to have a variety, probably weekly, at least 3 different major sources. And then with your micronutrients or your fruits or veggies, probably at least 5 to 7 different sources. You want to have a micronutrient base. So I worry more about the micronutrient base. Yvonne, I just added upright dips back into my program and notice that as I start to add weight, I guess my question for you would be, what's the goal of needing them to be upright? What's the goal? You want them to be more triceps focused? Well, if you want them to be more triceps focused, you're going to have to keep them upright and not add weight where you can't prevent yourself from moving forward. Does that make sense? So you have to stay in that lane, and that's going to require discipline. If you can't be disciplined and stay upright, then you probably shouldn't be using that as a triceps exercise. Does that make sense? All right, going to try behind the neck shrugs for rear delts. Any tips or suggestions? The BTN shrug, okay, you don't treat it like a regular shrug, meaning you don't try to power it up behind your butt. The BTN shrug, the behind the back shrug, BTB, not behind the neck, sorry, BTB. You want to control it up. You kind of want to stick your chest out. Sorry, everybody gets so close to you. So you want to stick your chest out and make sure you lift it above your booty. You got to get it above your booty near your waistline. This is going to hit your rear delts a lot. And that's what we want. I like this as a rear delt exercise. The word shrug, just consider it arbitrary, but nothing fries my rear delts like this movement. When I pull it up like this, in this position, the pain after like 8 reps on my rear delts, the pumps, the stress, the strain is off the charts. In fact, the stress on my rear delts from this exercise is worse than any exercise, any other exercise on any other muscle group. For me personally, Big Daniel White Jr., when it comes to progressive overload and bench, dead squats, what are some indicators of when to increase the weight? When you hit your progression indicator. Number one, you need a progression indicator. You can't have a program without a progression indicator. All my workouts have progression indicators. You need it's a guideline that tells you when to add weight, when you hit certain reps. So you need a rep goal or target on at least one set that tells you when to add weight. Let's say you're doing a 3x5 with 315, whatever, arbitrary weight on deadlift. You want to do a 3x5. How do you turn that into a progression indicator? You do 5-5 and then max safe reps. Okay. And if you hit like 7 on the last set, then that would be 2 over your goal of 5. Then maybe that would be your progression indicator. Check out my work on progression. Search progression. I have progression tools here on videos on progression tools, my 4 main progression tools. And on my website, Super Living Today. Hold on a second. Well, I'm not trying to do a full-blown commercial, but I want you guys to see this. Super Living Today. If you go over there, and I'm going to show you guys real quick, okay? I'm going to show you guys real quick how to find this. Where are you at? Super Living Today. I'm going to show you guys how to find this because I don't want you to be like out in this lonely big world all by yourself. So hard to figure out how to find it. Just humor, folks. Present, screen share. Where you at? There you at? Okay, this is my website. Super Living Today. Here's a little searchy worchy button. We're going to search tool. Okay. First thing that pops up is Massive Iron 4 main progression indicators approach. Okay. So you don't have to buy this, but if you want the PDF, it covers it. Okay. So if we go over to the YouTube, all right, and we go over to the searchy worchy button, okay, we search tool on my main YouTube channel, Creeping Death, a progression tool, muscle building tool. There's going to be my progression. Here we go. My progression approaches for mass and strength. This right here covers everything in the PDF. So you can use all these tools on any lift. So to make it super simple, just check that out. And that's about all you need, really. All right, where are we at? Big Tim, what would you say? How would you suggest we treat the advice given by credible YouTubers on exercise form, variation, intensity techniques, since we obviously don't want to be switching things in and out every other week? All right. So in the Massive Iron world, I teach you guys centering. I teach you guys places to start, quality places to start. I've spent my whole life studying workouts, and that is not a stretch. I started training in '86. I was a top editor in the industry. I've seen 10 million words, literally, and workouts and articles from major stars. I've trained with Ronnie Coleman. I've trained with the strongest men in the world. Many of them, I've seen their workouts. I've studied workouts. Blah, 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 right? The point here is that everything I preach is based on the big pictures. If you took 10,000 successful lifters, the question I've always asked, what are the commonalities between all of these? You know, everyone trains differently, all 10,000 of these men. This is how Massive Iron works. What are the common pillars of success? Number one, consistency in training. Number two, consistency in nutrition, right? Reasonable consistency. Number three, which program they use doesn't matter. They're all using different programs, splits, right? We have the segment that use body part splits, and the segment that use powerlifting splits, and the segment that use AB splits, and the segment that use push-pull legs. But when we look at all these successful guys, we see they're all using different types of splits, and it really doesn't matter. So we need a reasonable exercise selection, exercises that are going to challenge you, a good mix of exercises that are going to challenge you that have a progression opportunity, right? Most of them have a good progression opportunity. You're going to need progressive overload. You're going to need a reasonable amount of volume. Seeking high volume, we just went over Dr. Mike, that has its limitations. Low volume, everybody's obsessed with Mike Mentzer, but it's boring and it's just under-volumed. You can see success on anything, but a reasonable average volume, 72 hard sets a week is a good place to start. So we have all these commonalities, right? We have the massive iron world. We have all these commonalities. We're looking at the pillars of success. So there are things you must do, right? You must have progressive overload. You don't have to train like a power lifter, but you have to progressively overload over time. You must have challenging lifts. You just can't go in and do 3 variations of side lateral raises and hope to have big delts. That's the fantasy world. So you need challenging exercises. There are things you must have, and then there are things that are tools that are options, right? So intensity techniques are options or tools. You don't need rest pause. You don't need drop sets. Some people like them, some people don't. But understand, they are sprinkles on the icing on the cake. They are not the cake itself. Don't get caught up in eating sprinkles. You need to eat cake. Does that make sense? Exercise form. There are a lot of people in the bodybuilding world that don't understand exercise form. They create what they think is good form, but there are a lot of people that are not form experts. I can tell you, I've worked with many of them and I've seen them teach squats or sumo deadlifts in person, and they don't have a clue what they are talking about. They have a good body and they make it look like they know. Like, not to pick on people, but when I see Athlete X do squats or deadlifts, he knows a few form cues, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I can tell, right? Like, I can tell, like, this is happening. The bar is moving forward. You're not getting tight. You're not bracing here. I can tell. So, Tim, when it comes to form, we have to understand that, I don't know, this is going to be arbitrary, but 80% of those teaching form have probably major blind spots. Powerlifting form can confuse us because we can overfocus on things we don't need, okay? Powerlifting has brought a lot of good when it comes to deadlift and squat form, but also a lot of bad. We overthink things. We have a lot of squatters that are doing wide stance and low bar that probably should master high bar and a more narrow conventional stance first. They don't have a lot of strength and it's tearing up their hips and knees, and they can't hit depth and all kinds of things. We have benchers that are focused on 72 form cues when all they really need is to lay on a bench and have good control. So, Tim, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of information out there, and you have to determine, you have to learn to filter it. There's a world of information that tells people I made a video about this the other day on triceps, on extensions. You have to keep your arms stapled to your side. Why? This is arbitrary and stupid. One of the functions of the long head of the triceps is elbow rotation. So doing a skull crush, you don't just do this where your elbows are stapled right here like a robot. It's okay to rotate and extend. Rotate and extend. That's going to feel more natural on your triceps and your joint. So you're going to be able to move more weight. And it's going to call into play more of the long head of the tricepticons. Oh, I can feel my whole slice up here. It's just big and juicy. I just want to feel it for a while. Just humor, folks. So like you have bodybuilders that toss out arbitrary stuff like this and they mean well, but it's literally stupidity. So how do I tell you who's stupid and who's not? The only thing I can say, Tim, is follow me, man. I'm either leading you off the cliff or I'm leading you to paradise. You can figure it out. What's the downside of doing a bunch of reps with lightweight? What's the downside of doing a bunch of reps on anything for lightweight? Time. It can be good for form practice, but you still have to test yourself under reasonable weight because form will break down under reasonable weight. I see what you're saying. You can't afford more plates. You want to, if you can't afford more plates, you want to maintain your strength, right? I would probably, if you're going to cycle volume on the deadlift, or if you're going to do volume on the deadlift, I'd probably cycle it because the low back is still going to likely be the weak point in the lift. So you probably want to cycle volume a little bit to make sure your lower back is healthy, but no real downside. Big Bad Tim. With videos like you put out recently about massive curls, or when YouTubers come out and promote stuff, massive curls is just a tool. Like it's a tool. It's I put out a thing about massive curls where you do barbell curls or easy bar curls for 8 strict reps. And then when you're done, you do 3 to 4 cheaty Englishly reps, and then you finish off with drag curls. It's just one massive intensity technique. The key is progressive overload because the body is going to adapt to this intensity technique. So the key is still progressive overload. This is a tool. A tool is not mandatory nor required. It's just a fun thing to be able to do. So when you have a tool, understand that it still hinges on progressive overload. It's fun. If it's reasonable, it's something you can use, right? But it's not mandatory. It's completely optional. Do you think using a yoga block to help me get extra deep with the leg press will be a good idea? You mean under your back? A yoga block's pretty big. I don't know about the pressure on the lower back on that. That's scaring me a little bit. Tim, I'd have to see your leg press because with leg press, there's deep enough, and then there's why are we going that deep, right? So we have to, it's like on an ass-to-grass squat. There's a whole cult out there that, you have to go as deep as humanly possible. It's like some weird metal cult. It's like a mosh pit, and every time somebody does ass to grass, they're just forming that mosh pit, beating the shit out of each other, right? That's arbitrary. So on squats and on leg press, there's a difference between good enough functionally and way too deep and arbitrary and not needed. Big GB. Do you ever play with rest periods between sets? No. What's the point, really? We have to stay in our flow. Hear me out. Like every day if you want to stick to a rest period, fine. Just make sure it's one that services the hard work. You don't want to, I do rest pause work. I advocate rest pause work. We have strict rest between sets. But don't start planting yourself in front of a tree and missing the big picture. Rest periods, we don't have to micromanage them. And when I say that, some people are like, but I like to micromanage them. Well, then by all means do so. But just know that the rest periods are not the magic. Progressive overload is the magic, and hard training is the magic. So my advice for you is to not overthink it. I never, when I'm not doing rest pause work, I never think about rest between sets. When I am physically and mentally ready to go in, I go. Some days the gym is hot and I need more time. Some days I'm spent after a real hard second set and I need more time than I did after the first set. I focus on hard training when I'm not doing rest pause work. I service hard training. The focus is to take this next set and make it as hard as possible. So whatever I do, my rest between sets is dedicated to making that next set as hard as possible. I'm not going to rest, 7 minutes, but I'm focused on, okay, I'm ready to go. Physically, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Stein, how's it going? Stein, big, hairy, ugly dude. John, a great avatar or profile pic or whatever. Last week, you told somebody who was 6'3" to get around 205 in 2 years. Would that be weight gain? Is going to be all about calorie surplus. So your concern is, are you going to build much muscle doing that? So let's frame that. I'm about 5'10". So for each inch of height, you add about 5 pounds of general weight, bones and blood and organs and stuff, skin and stuff, right? Not to sound like John Madden, stuff, right? So if you're at 5'10", you deduct about 25 pounds, and that puts you at about 180. So at 5'10", are you going to be fat at 180? No. You might be a little bit fluffy, slightly fluffy, but you're not going to be, 25% body fat fluffy. At 6'3", 205, are you going to be fat? No. So these are reasonable, leany goals. They're going to keep you relatively lean. So don't worry about getting fat. This will facilitate muscle growth. And if you only can train twice a week, that's fine. Just make it hard. Focus on hard sets, training as hard as you can. And you're going to be fine. Dominic, happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in. I work a manual labor job where fatigue catches up to me very easily. That's fine. When I got into powerlifting, I was a machinist back around 2005, 2006. First time I heard of West Side box squats, all that stuff. Seems like yesterday, but I worked a super physical job. I was humping and bumping. I was moving and lifting and loading all day long. It was like CrossFit 8 hours a day. I'm not exaggeration. It was intense. Got to hydrate. Got to get your electrolytes in. Got to get your sodium. Got to get your potassium. And you need to nail your rest. And you need to nail your calories. If you're doing this type of job and you don't have some focus on daily calorie intake, you're your own worst enemy. 3 days is fine. Absolutely fine. Monday, I do a posterior, Wednesday, upper, and then Friday, a full body. That's fine. That sounds reasonable. Big Bad Tim. I know we don't recommend this for deadlifts, but thoughts on rolling the bar. I don't know, Tim. I mean, I'm of the belief that you should be able to find a suitable place to row from without having to roll the bar. Rolling the bar, when you pull the bar back and you have your hands over, what happens? Your elbows bend. And then to pull, we have a tendency to move our body upright. Rolling the bar, you're still going to have to take a big breath and lock your body. I don't really like that for Pendlay rows at all. I just don't. I don't like the whole idea at all. I found on my horizontal presses, for those of you guys keeping score at home, a horizontal press is a bench press. You're like, I'm laying on my back. Wouldn't it be a vertical press? No, you have to think like you're standing up, a horizontal press and then a vertical press, okay, from the standing position. So a horizontal press is like a bench press variation. Then when I get near failure, my left side starts to lag. That's normal. All men and women, almost all of us have one side that's weaker than the other. I've had one side weaker than the other for 38 years. Nearly every lifter I've ever trained Has one side weaker than the other, one side smaller than the other, whether they realize it or not. Some of my lifters on bench, you can notice it more. Some you notice it less. The stronger you get, the more the differences between the two sides will be noticeable. They'll even out. You don't have to worry about changing it. You don't have to be concerned. There's nothing else you need to do. Just use a reasonable training approach. And over time, the difference will be minimal, but it's generally not going to be an issue and not going to cause you injury. John, I'm going to let you win this week just because of that profile pick. John, you win a Team Massive membership or a whey or a creatine if you're in the United States, or a shirt or hoodie. Hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman, or email me benthebarman@gmail.com. I can do big, small, full body, A, B, C, D, and a rotation. Generally, yeah. Shouldn't be an issue. Can you please look up Max? I actually did look up Max Taylor. I did. I had no idea who Max was, so I'm going to share the screen. And I'm a little bit, when I do these things, I'm very careful because I don't know these people. But the question is Max Taylor attainable naturally? Yeah, that's a naturally attainable physique. His legs look about 20, so they look like mine. His biceps kind of look like mine. His triceps are a little bit smaller than mine. He has a higher chest, though defined. Delts, nothing unusual. They look a little bit pumped in that picture. Tweeny-twiny calvy-wabbies. Sorry. Normal forearms. It looks very reasonable. Now, when I say this, and this is not a comment on Mr. Max Taylor, you need to understand that, and I'm not implying this for Max, I'm just saying this in general for your education. You can take an average gym lifter and give him a little bit of gas, meaning 200 to 500 milligrams of juiciness, and have them move up to that level. So the question was, is this attainable naturally? Not is he natural. This is attainable naturally. All right. Let me get that off here. Good morning. Your junk program calls for 3 to 8 on overhead press. JD, one thing you got to understand in the massive iron world is nothing is gospel. Rep ranges don't matter. Programs don't matter. It's just a starting point. You can do 3x10. You can do 3x8. You can do 3x12. You can do 3x7. I don't really care. And I'm not being dismissive, but it simply does not matter at all. I have to put something in a workout, because if I don't, everyone's going to ask what rep ranges, right? So you can do 3x8, 3x9, 3x10, 3x7, 3x11, 3x12. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. There's no magic rep ranges. Donuts and dumbbells. I said it backwards. Away Friday and Monday. Shoehorn the week's lifting. I don't like to do that, man. I'm just sharing my opinion, so you do what you want to do. You do you. But if I'm going to be away for 3 days, I'm just going to keep my normal flow and have some rest. Unless I might be able to squeeze in one extra workout. Unless. I just wouldn't try to condense too many workouts into a 5-day or 4-day period, just so, an extra day or two of rest is usually you can squeeze in one more workout, that's fine. But don't go crazy. Big Jonathan, Team Massive. I'm doing 2-week checking if 2950 will get me on the right rate for my bulk. I messed up 3 days of overeating. Look, guys, when you're on a bulk, number one, understand that if you go over in calories, you're going to have a little bit of a water spike, and that's okay, and it'll go away. A few days a week where you go over in calories, a few days a month where you go over in calories on a bulk, that's fine. If you're doing that every week, you need to be smacked upside the head, because that's when you get into lazy slob territory. Like if you're fulking, don't be afraid. I didn't swear. If you're fulking, you fulker. Are you a fulker? Look, you fulker. Fulking, it's not a swear word. Don't panic. Is a fat bulk. If you're going over 2 to 3 times a week, you're fulking, you're fat bulking. And all that's going to do is run you into the wall quicker. And you have no discipline. Fat bulk is not a good thing, because a fat bulk takes you away from it forces you to stay in a cut longer each year, and you're taken away from the muscle building process. So number one, get over it, but you don't want to go into a cut. If you do like 3 days over a week, 2 days over a week, and then you're doing 2 to 3 days under a week, you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot. You're being a dipshit. So occasional 2 to 3 days out of the month, fine. If it's every week, you need to go up to the mirror and just punch your face in the mirror or something. No, don't do that. That sounds dangerous. Big Bob, when and what sort? You don't need to do any stretching. We are not part of the WSE, the World Stretching, the WSI, the World Stretching Institute. You don't need to stretch at all. If you're sore, you want to stretch things the next day, fine. Don't stretch before working out. There's some minor indication that it could weaken you, but that's a little bit of hyper paranoia. You don't need stretching, though. That doesn't mean it can't be beneficial. You can't do it on off days. You can't do it when you're sore. But we're lifting. It's not a requirement at all in any way, shape, or form. If you want to do it for fun, go ahead. I would suggest that if any of you want to stay limber or more agile, you want to be cat-like, right? Or maybe you want to be a little bit more agile in bed, or whatever. Just humor. Relax. Just humor. Then you could do like yoga, DDP yoga or something like that. Thank you so much for giving so much to the community. Thank you. I can't tell you how much it means when I see comments like that. It does. Because, behind the scenes, you could ask my wife, I work pretty darn hard. The last 3 weeks alone, I've worked pretty darn hard. And I'm here 12 hours a day. And I do so much for free. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. But I'm just saying it means a lot to see somebody recognize that. So I thank you. Do we need 6 days in the gym? No. Just watch the beginning of Dr. McGee. Absolutely not. 3.5 to 4 is a sweet spot. 3 is, you do that over 10 years, you're going to be as big as you need to be. We're realists here. We're not extremists. If you did everything right and you trained 3 days a week in 10 years, you'd be as big as you need to be. Probably sooner, but I'm saying 10 years is just tossing it out. Hey, everyone, already wishing you a great weekend. Thank you. One of two here. Big Hairy Ugly Dude switching to a self-made full body, asynchronous split with 4 different training days every other day and doing those. Okay, reasonable. My head's wrapped around that. We're good to go. Any thoughts on this in terms of variety and progress? I'm doing it, so I have a bit more time for recovery. On AB type of splits, I like to do different exercises when it makes sense. Maybe dips 1 week, maybe barrel press the next in that slot, maybe penalties 1 week in that slot, maybe dumbbell rows that week in that slot, maybe seated cable rows 1 week, maybe machine rows. Work in a little bit of variety. Don't get obsessive about it, but it's good for hypertrophy and it's good, mentally as well. But you're on the right track. Bert, my work is kind of okay, but I'm not like yay. Is that the start of a rap song, Bert? I would rip off a beat here, but you don't want to hear me beatbox. That would be embarrassing on an epic level. My work is kind of okay, but it's not like yay. Any advice to find out what I want to do and how to go about it? You're the best. Any advice to find out what I want and how to go about it? Oh, you're talking about work. Sorry. I was too busy trying to be a rapper. What are you passionate about, Bert? I mean, this sounds like, influencers speak or like the 5 a.m. crowd speak. What are you passionate about? Get up and do that. Right. But seriously, what do you like to do in your free time? I'd love to know more about it. I really would, because I took my passion and turned it into a business. And my business is super successful. Sometimes people look at YouTube numbers and I'm just a small guy on YouTube. I'm okay with that because my business, I've dedicated the last 17, 18 years to helping people, and for the most part for free. Because of that, I've developed a really good business. I don't do this strictly for money. It came out of passion. I did this for free forever. But from passion came money. And I have a pretty successful business. I have a lot of programs out there. I do custom work. I do a lot of stuff. I work hard. So I've helped a lot of people get into YouTube, not just on lifting, but doing other things. And I know this isn't necessarily about YouTube for you, but I will say to you guys, and excuse my language here, but life is too fucking short. And I know that's a cliche, but at some point you got to do what you love to do. There are too many other people out there doing what they love to do. Even if it's just on a side, right? Maybe you like to paint, or maybe you like to fix lawnmowers, whatever your thing is, right? Do it on your side and continue to do what you love. And finding a way to make money off doing what you love, that's the bridge. That's the key. And I'll tell you, one thing I've learned about small businesses, having a small business myself, I know a lot of other small business owners, and they get to do what they like, but they don't make a credible amount of money like a barber. My wife is a seamstress. She does wedding dresses, but there's only so much time she can sell, right? So while she's doing what she loves, sometimes there can be a trade-off where you make a decent income, but it's not a great income, and you incur a lot of stress. So I don't know, Bert, I need to know a little bit more, but I wish you well. Steve, I'm telling my son he has too many exercises in his program, but my own creation is a monster. How much is too much? If you're doing the last 3 or 4 and you're just going through the motions, it's too much. If you're doing the last 3 or 4 and checking the clock and hating yourself for stuffing it, then it's too much. But as long as you're enjoying it, you're fine. Brandon, I've reached my fat loss goal after 6 months. Good job. That is a lot of weight. When I read 6 months, I'm like, I was hoping mentally that you weren't, stretching things out, but that's a really good rate. Good job. Adding calories back in slowly. How long should I stay at maintenance? Well, you want to make sure you're ready to mentally bulk. Typically, I tell folks to eat at what they think is maintenance for 5 days and weigh themselves every day. And then we set a 10-pound limiter. So whatever you hit weight-wise, when you hit 10 pounds gain, we're going to cut again. We're going to bring that weight back down, right? You need to stick to that. So that'll help you get over the fear of bulking. I just start doing bent over rows. Yeah, that's reasonable. On bent over rows, when I get to like 10 or 12, it almost feels more like I'm more annoyed by the cardiovascular fatigue than I am by the stress on my back. Does that make sense? So you want to find that range for you in barbell rows where the rep range isn't bothering you, and that you can keep going from a cardiovascular standpoint. I'm doing L-sit chin-ups. I've been able to work up to 18. Good job. Should I keep progressing in reps? Well, we have to look. There's two different things going on here. There's two different wires. Number one, an L-sit chin-up is more of a calisthenics progression. Okay, you progress from a basic chin-up to an L-sit. Nothing wrong with that, but that is calisthenics. Then we have hypertrophy or muscle building, lat development. So does being in the L-sit give you greater lat development, or does it actually make the chin up harder, so it's harder to get lat development, but it makes other areas harder as well? So I see no issue with doing L-sit chin-ups. We should all do what we enjoy, right? But I would do weighted chin-ups for lat development in general, in addition to that. John, I was thinking about this question. I saw it pop up earlier. Could you do some tier list videos? I would love to. You know, I was watching Bald Omni-Man's video this week. And is there a software or a page where you can do tier lists online? I need something super simple where I can drop and drag the images and let them flow. I know there's got to be something online where these guys do this. And I'm pretty internet savvy, but I missed that day in school. So if you guys know what they're doing this on, let me know. I don't mind paying a few bucks. I would love to do tier list videos where we can drop and drag and move things around in real time. That would be great. All right. What's your opinion on rucking? On waste of time? Hell no. I like hiking. I like trail running. I like being in the woods. If you want to add weight to your back, that's fine. Just know it can add some minor stress to your joints. It's probably going to be negligible and nothing to worry about. I would say if somebody's overweight, they need to probably just worry about hiking and not rucking. They don't need any more stress on their joints. A little bit of weight I'm okay with. If you're going to hike or ruck, I really think you could benefit from being off pavement in an area with some elevation change. Bert, could you please make some merch based on your Storm Motivation speak? If somebody can DM me, I do this every week, but if you guys can DM me, excuse me, on Instagram or email me, benthebarman@gmail.com with a reminder. I have to really think of what I'm going to do because I don't want to put on anything ugly. Josh, Megaroids. What's going on? For those of you that don't know, Josh has been around forever. One of the OGs, and I remember him posting on Jeffrey Verity Schofield a while back, and somebody accused him of like megaroids, which is ridiculous. Anyway, I've been getting over 30K steps a day, working in a steel mill. I'm about to seriously up my calories. My worry is that, look, as long as you have the base of nutrients, Josh, to recover, then everything else is just calories. Like what I found, I hate to dumb it down like that, but if you are in really good shape and you are getting in your nutrients, then then you're probably in a pretty good position, Josh. That's my opinion. Like, you would probably be worse off if you weren't getting in those calories from a health standpoint. You'd probably deteriorate. I mean, if you need 5,000 calories plus, and you try to do it on broccoli and rice and chicken breasts, or if you try to do it on beef, you'd probably go broke, right? I think you'll be fine. I missed the Storm motivation speech. Where can I watch it? If anybody has that link, and they could email, I have so many videos and I don't have it handy, and obviously I'm live here. But if anybody has that link and wants to post it into the chat, I will post it on the community tab of this channel when I get a chance, and you guys can maybe keep an eye out for that. Maybe it's like 30% of the food I eat. 30% is small. With that high activity level, man, I would be an ice cream eating, meat stick chewing son of a gun. You know what I'm saying? Those meat sticks, not the jerky ones, but like the Wisconsin. What are the Wisconsin meat sticks? Man, those are good. Even the turkey ones, you can eat those all day. What do you call the sausage that we used to eat in Wisconsin? The summer sausage. You all eat summer sausage, cheese. Josh, you could just go to town on a summer sausage and cheese, summer sausage and cheese. You know what I'm saying? That's like 1,500 calories. It might block your poop hole up, but man, it'd be good. Would I consider doing a full day eating? Once I get the home gym up, I've been thinking about doing. You guys can let me know what you think, because I got my regular content on this channel, and I'm literally 2 months away from having a home gym. We're going to be doing filming. I'm going to be doing exercise videos, explanation videos, coming through my workouts, videos that detail my workouts. I'm going to be doing a lot of that stuff. So do you think I should have a second channel that is just start from scratch, all this information well organized and referenced? Or should I toss it into, the mix here, into the existing 3,000 videos? I'm kind of thinking a second channel, like massive university, wouldn't be a bad idea. Big Josh Megaroy's. I can only go to the gym 2 days out of every 8 days. So Josh goes on. Just do what you can do, Josh. I mean, all I can say is do what you can do. If your back gets, legs get toasted from work, you still want a little bit of work, but it's a long journey. Do what you can do, and I would still get in some back and leg work. I'm not really sure if that answers your question. Paul, what's going on, Paul? Started from 165. Can I look like I lift in clothes 2 years and maintain? Yeah. 2 years, let's say you gain 15 pounds of muscle, which, 12 to 15 pounds of muscle would be a really good goal. You want to walk around on earth after that? Maintain? Absolutely. I'll tell you, man, that's kind of the zone I live in, is maintenance zone. Yeah, I'm not going to get bigger unless I do megaroids. Well, some of y'all think I just do megaroids. Right? If I did the cycles some of these people think I did, Jesus. Anyway, yes. Is a squat with 20-degree wedge. I wouldn't call it a different lift. You're just going to make sure. I mean, my main concern is that you're opening your knees enough to match your foot angle. I think a lot of people don't squat well enough so they can actually feel any of their quads. We become so obsessed with wide stance, low bar that we're getting less and less quad activation or focus. So I don't think it's a bad idea. As long as it's working for you, go with it. Stan, finally made it. Thank you. Cold beer. Crack one open. I may have gluteal amnesia. When doing hip hinge, my glutes turn off the second I set my butt back and my hams and lower back do the work. Help to wake up those sleepy glutes. My mind went in bad places. Just sleepy glutes. I was going to crack some really bad jokes about having a room full of cheerleaders and slapping your ass and things like that. Anyway, when you're doing like a hip hinge, you have to, like when you lock out, think about pinching your cheeks together to drive the way forward. Like when you're doing a squat, when you're going to lockout, if you think about pushing your hips or clenching your glutes together to help with the lockout, you got to kind of do the same thing on a hip hinge. You have to have an awareness. What's going on, Andreas? Welcome to the party. All right, guys, we're about an hour and 22 minutes in. Keep the questions rolling. I will stay on as long as you guys got questions. I'm going to roll forward. Before I roll forward, bulking season is here, and I have a couple coaching slots open at superlivingtoday.com. If you're interested in coaching, I am with you every single day. Once you sign up, we set up a time to talk on the phone. I build you a custom workout, and then I'm with you 5 days a week. I check in 5 days a week. We're looking at nutrition. You can send form videos every single day. Every day I log on, I look at your workouts, your form video, your nutrition, and make sure you're on track. So my guys that stay on track see really good results, and I don't do anything punishing or a circus act, and my coaching is very, very reasonable because coaching is what I do full time, and I have a knockout system, and I work my ass off for my clients. So if you're interested, check out the coaching tab. After the first month, it's only $89.40 a month, and I work super hard for my clients. So I do have a couple slots available. If you're interested, head over to superlivingtoday.com and check out the coaching tab. All right, commercial over. When I'm doing bridges, I can't squeeze my glutes. I'm wondering if you are doing them too heavy. I don't know. If I'm doing an exercise and I can't feel something, I don't automatically panic. Like I can't feel my quads on my squats, but that doesn't mean I'm not working my quads during squats, right? So just keep that in mind. That's number one. Just because you can't, it's a compound exercise. And if you can't feel your glutes, that's okay. But then you have to decide, if you want to continue to do them or not. I'm going to give my massive thanks to Steve for the new program out called Massive Hit. Thanks. It's a massive hit in the pouch, isn't it? Ralph, let's go. One intro. Good morning, Darren. Glad to hear it, man. I really am. That makes me happy. Have you ever confronted someone in the gym about their behavior? If so, I try not to be that guy. I mean, I will tell you, um, with size and old age comes a degree of, how do you put this? Like, I'm going to probably say what I want to too often, but I try to be polite over it. But I I try not to. About a month back, I walked into the gym and some guy was sitting there texting on the bench station. And I went up to him and asked him how many sets of texting he had left. And it's a kid, so he doesn't know if you're serious or being a smart ass, or he doesn't know if you're going to break him in two or whatever. But I don't really want to be confrontational. I will tell you, though, I'm not shy about intervening if somebody's doing something that is not a good thing. You know, I've had guys just fucking rage deadlifting, like way over, way beyond. You know, like way beyond what is required. I mean, I am a noisy deadlifter, but if you're aggravating me, I've had guys like that where I walked over to them, and I've done a couple things before. Number one, I said, can I do a quick warm-up set after they're done with the set? And they're like rage lifting with 350. I've done this before. Don't judge me if you want. You know, just slamming the fucking weight down, 315. Sometimes I've gotten up to here where I walked over to the guy when he was done. I had my Versa grip on already. I've done this at least 2 or 3 times where I've said, can I do a quick warm-up set? Sure. I do a single. I do it with one hand. I just do a rage deadlift with one hand like it was the lightest fucking thing on earth. Like, oh, thank you. Right? He's over there. Like he's fucking raining down thunderbolts from the sky, right? A couple times, man, I've done this. I'm not even lying. I've just walked over with my Versa grip. Can I do a warm-up set? Lift it up with one arm. I didn't stop him from raging after lifting, but fuck, it made me feel better. Yeah, I've done a few things a couple times. But these days, I just report it to the staff. Still got a night shift. Hang tough, man. Mikey, what's going on? Hello, Steve. Hope your dog is doing okay. Thanks. I get to pick up my dog from surgery as soon as we're done. It's so hard to drop off. My dog is so attached to me, and I had to take it in. It's like, where are we going, Dad? Why are you leaving me here, Dad? I imagine like leaving your child alone in some place that it doesn't know why you're. I'm super attached to my dog. All right. Mikey says, I saw something with Alpha Destiny the other day. I don't care for his content. I'd be curious what you saw. I'm so used to calling him Alpha Destiny. It triggers people sometimes that I do, but man, that's all I've ever known him at. So I don't. But I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see the video. I mean, I care about a lot of these guys as people. We don't always agree on everything, but it's not war. We don't have to start factions and get angry with each other, but it's just lifting. Would be great to get either an interview with Mike Israetel. You guys know I'm going to be on Elite, right? I'm going to be on their podcast in December. I'll keep you guys updated, but they've asked me to be on their podcast with Dave Tate, Table Talk. I'm going to be on in December, and I'll let you guys know. But that's an hour and 15 minutes away, and I'm super honored. But yeah, I'll be on Table Talk with Dave Tate in December. Israel, I'm like a small fry to Mike. I try my best to approach lifting intelligently and from give the best advice I can, right? And I most of these guys, I don't ever want to turn things into feuds. I have respect for Mike. Me and Mike would get along real well, but there are definitely things I disagree with a lot of guys, and I don't want to ever turn that into warfare. It's just lifting. Andreas, on Massive Hit, how would you count dynamic double progression threes? DDP is like 3 sets. DDP is basically 3 sets, and you push each set for max reps. And when you hit like a progression indicator on any of the sets, you move that set only up in weight. Threes are 3 separate sets where you do back down sets of like 10% for max safe reps. That's 3 sets. Escalating a bulldozer is like 7 sets where you do 30 seconds rest, 30 seconds rest, 45, 45, 60, 90. That shakes out probably to be more impactful, like 4 or even 5 conventional sets. I consider it more of a block, an exercise block. Same with bulldozer. 3 on DDP and threes, and escalating bull usually 4, maybe 5, and bulldozer, I just count them as 3. How does annual periodization work? Like focusing on one goal for 3 months and alternating. Well, you have, if you're this, I think what you're more talking about is specialization. Like, do you have a unifying goal? What's the unifying goal? After a year, I want to be the biggest and strongest and an ultra runner. Okay, there's your unifying goal after a year. So I'm going to have 3 months where I focus on my bench and 3 months where I focus on my squat, and I'm running during the time and whatever. So we have to understand what the unifying goal is after a year. And then whatever cycling or specialization we're doing, it has to kind of focus on one area in that block, if that makes sense. Frequency can still matter since it's easier to fit in more quality volume with. No, it's not. That's just your opinion. It's not easier to fit in volume 2 to 3 times a week. I don't have any problem fitting in volume with frequency or with body part splits. I'm not being disrespectful, but that's your opinion, but it's not true. I think it's actually easier to fit in volume for me doing a body part split. Where I can break it up over 5-6 days a week if I wanted to, or even do A/B splits. So that it's just simply not true at all. Big Hairy Ugly Dude, is single leg training a must in a program? Not a must. I mean, some unilateral work can be nice, but do you need lunges or Bulgarian split squats? For the most of my training in 38 years, I did not do lunges. I did not do lunges or Bulgarians. I didn't do any single leg training, and I had huge quads. I mean, as huge as they're going to get. So, is single leg training a must? No, it's definitely not a must. On my current, I have by default minus RIR, right? That's when when you're going to the limit and a little bit more. Fat chick in a barn. As an old lady, I don't think I could ever recover from that fast enough. Yeah, I don't look. When I was training hard and I was young, 5 days a week still beat the crap out of me. Like right now, I like to train 5 days a week. I don't have time for it. But man, can it beat me down. Carlton, how's it going, Carlton? Calculated that my cut is on December. Should I reschedule my cut to January? My friends and family. Look, I am just going to be honest with you in general, and you guys can do whatever you want, but I don't really think it's a good time to cut between mid-November to December. If you're in a bulk and you have to add 5 more weeks of bulking, you're really only adding like 3 pounds to your bulk. If that's going to make or break you, like send you into a massive depression. I'm not laughing at depression, right? Not at all. But if the thought of that sends you into like a panic, and we're talking seriously here, if the thought of cutting or bulking for another 5 weeks or 6 weeks sends you into a panic about your physique, then you should probably start cutting right now. And then just when you hit, then just start bulking. But realistically, it's only going to be another 3, max 4 pounds on your bulk if you just, bulk the last 4 to 6 weeks of the year. So I wouldn't worry about it at all. I'd have fun, man. That's a good time to bulk. That's a good time to bulk. You're doing stuff with your family, eating all that good food. Mom's got the cookies, and Aunt Bertha got the pie. Be careful with Aunt Bertha's pie. Don't eat more than one piece. All right. What kind of program would you recommend to someone who doesn't want to live in the gym? Well, general fitness is going to involve a degree of muscularity, right? For general health and longevity, muscularity is beneficial for general fitness and longevity, but how much do you want? If you're not after maximum muscle, but you want some muscle, 3 times a week is going to be all you'll ever really need. But you're still going to need to build some quality strength levels. Just be patient. Darren, my first live, usually busy on Fridays. Thank you for joining in. John, do you see guys on Team Massive spinning their wheels? No, I don't confront anybody. Team Massive is a community. And for those of you guys wondering, teammassiveiron.com. Teammassiveiron.com. It's a website, and it's a community. One thing I can't stress enough, and there's a lot of people that come and go and never are active. We're part of the community, and I can't do anything. But it's not like, I'm the kingpin and I walk into my skyscraper and everybody has to do what I say, right? Team Massive is a community. I want people posting their logs. I want people interacting. I just want to be part of the community. There's a place where people can ask me questions, and I see general chat and conversations, and I see people that I would like to help. But on Team Massive, I don't push things. I make myself available. Everywhere around me, people are spinning their wheels. And that's not a criticism. That's not me sitting up on high as some deity. It's just knowing. Yeah, but if someone wants to come to me, I'm going to help them. I'm going to tell them what to do. But I don't confront people. I don't confront people unless they are in a public space, saying something that's patent bullshit over and over and over again. Like, I do not want other members to fall into a pit with bullshit. So if I see somebody that's, saying something like red meat causes cancer, massive is probably not a good place for you. Where are we at? My fiance has done a bro split for years and does not look like a dude. Imagine that. Imagine that. Oh, thank you for the donation. Forearms, wrists are holding me back. They get sore. That's part of the process, my man. That's a rite of passage. I get this a lot. I'm training my arms. I'm training my overheads. My forearms are getting pumped, or the weak spot. Sometimes that's just the way it is until you get stronger. It's not something to be feared. It is just part of the process. But that's when we push back. Something pushes against you, you push back. Okay, I got 6 reps on my last set of curls, and my forearms, they're just in pain. Okay, that's the limiter, but next time we're still going to go get 7. We're still going to chase 7 next time. The goal is the same the next time, regardless of what the limiter is. And if you keep pushing for one more, pushing for one more, pushing for one more, sooner or later you're going to wake up and the wrists and forearms are no longer holding you back. GB, where are my books? Thoughts on Charles Poliquin. I got some books up here. Right above the orange shoes I just ordered. I like to study. Everybody.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
Thanks, Alexa. I don't know why Alexa just chimed in randomly. But I just actually am diving into some of Charles's stuff. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm undereducated. But I actually just ordered 2 of his books. I like to stay up on stuff. It's just not bullshit. I read training books. I read training books. This is one I just got as well. You can't really see it. Almost disconnected the internet. Building Muscle and Strength, the Teens Guide. So I'm always reading books. This just by some random, it's got like a meal plan for teens. I'm seeing what other people are doing. I'm not going to sit and copy his stuff, but it either fortifies what I believe, or I think it's stupid. Here's a teen's breakfast. Here's a teen's meal plan. Breakfast: 3 scrambled eggs, 100 grams of spinach, and 1 whole grain toast. What are we trying to get a chick thin here? What? 3 scrambled eggs, toast, and spinach. Pre-workout. Yeah, let's eat before we work out. Chicken breast, a sweet potato, and greens. This is such a bullshit bodybuilder diet for a teen. Post-workout, whey protein and berries. Dinner, baked salmon, quinoa, and vegetables. It's super clean, but those calories right there will probably make my wife lose weight. Super lean. So I read to see what other people are talking about, and I read to evolve my education. So I'm still getting up to speed. Chris, sorry I'm late. That's okay. I'm always here. 4,000-year-old Talvani wizard. Okay. What does it mean when I lose half the reps on the next session on a given lift? In this case, that's a lot to lose, man. It means something's probably really, really broken. Like your sleep, your calories, something. I need to know more, but that's not normal. You've form checked my leg press before, and it said depth is good. Okay. I'd have to see where you're putting it. If you're putting it in the butt area, that sounds like a lot of low stress on the back. I probably wouldn't do that. I've heard you say that beginners should take it easy on their lower back. Well, the lower back is usually in coaching the area that takes a beating. So we want to just make sure we're getting form checks on deadlifts and squats. And you can do this on Instagram. You can send me a form video. I've been the barman. I've been the barman. Or you can join teammassiveiron.com. You can do weekly form checks. But you need to make sure your form is getting checked. And you can't be on a program where you're aggressively doing linear progression and beating the crap out of your squats and deadlifts and RDLs. So it's a dance, but you can't rush into that. You got to learn the dance first, and you got to listen to your lower back. Paladin, let me get a drink here. I'm losing my voice. How many countries have you been to? America, Canada. I spent a lot of time in Toronto, some in Hamilton. A lot of time in Toronto. So a lot of time in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, Scotland. So America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England, Scotland. 7. Is it possible to have the pump muscular look? No, it's not. It's not. I'm not laughing at you. Just getting a pump is like something that's gonna, occur right after a workout. So absolutely not. Sorry. How close to a calorie goal do you recommend being? Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of variance, and we can't panic ourselves. So, if your calorie goal on a bulk is about 3,000, I would like to be within 5% generally. 10%, going on to 2,700 up to 3,300, not the end of the world. But I think on the low end, I don't want to be lower than 5% routinely, because then you're going to be pushing maintenance. So I think on the low end, no lower than 5%. On the high end, you just can't frequently go over 10%, or you're going to start bulking, fat bulking. Nick, 1 of 2. On a bulk, if you're shooting for a small surplus, but weight is stagnant, do you like the idea of having? No, not at all. We have to raise all days. The idea that we should only raise half days usually is grounded in fear of fat gain for some individuals. I'm not saying that's the case for you, Nick, but we need to raise the barn every day. We're training or recovering or repairing or whatever. And that's the real thing. We want to have that food surplus to stay in that anabolic state of recovery and repair and growth, so to speak. Does the body respond to this better than no? You want to stay in that surplus. It's really the anabolism that comes from the surplus, that positive state of calories and protein that we want to stay in. It's kind of a happy ground for muscle growth. And we're doing repair and recovery, every single day. So we want to encourage that. So every day. Monster, how many hard sets volume do you recommend for each muscle group per week? I have many videos and information on this for anybody that's curious. But in the massive iron world, starting points, this isn't a rule that we have to always stick to. This is a starting point for the 4 major muscle groups: back, quads, chest, and shoulders, about 12. For minor muscle groups, biceps, triceps, hams, start about 6. And then whatever else you want to fit in. And then we build up or down based on how things feel. Triceps can take a little bit more beating, so can back. So those are a good place to add in a little bit more if you need to. I love you to the moon and back. Unfortunately, thank you. Just those of you that don't know. He's been saying that for many, many years and cracks me up, so I appreciate it. Can you help us maximize with lat pull downs? When I'm coaching or helping on Team Massive, man, I want to see every one of your lifts. I really, really do. My arms get tired. When you are working with a lat pull down, first off, we go up and we get a mild stretch. Okay. We want the arms to the point where we can get a mild back stretch. From here, I lean a little bit back. I'm going to fall on my chair. But I think about driving my shoulders and elbows back at the same time. Shoulders and elbows back. See how that's working? A lot of people teach just the elbows. I teach mentally, I think, shoulders and elbows back. So shoulders and elbows back. And then down here, it's more, at the end, it's more elbows. Shoulders and elbows, elbows. Right? Shoulders and elbows, elbows. Right? That's what I think. So if you do that, you're going to have the right focus and just stay in that lane. It's going to be working your lats if you're doing that. Even if you're having a hard time feeling it, just stay in that tube. Any tips on getting more push-ups per set? I'd probably try doing rest pause. Like, if you want to get better at an end goal, one approach is just to keep pushing to the end goal and keep hoping you're going to break through. Another approach would be to say, do 15s, do volumes of 15s, right? Volumes of 20s, do volumes of 20s. And then that's the approach I would probably take, trying to increase or periodize the 15s to 20s, meaning week in and week out, do a little bit more, then pull back, and then cycle through, start a little bit lower and then a little bit higher. That's what I would do. Can you Google Big Joe Delaney? I can. It better not lead to a porn site, though. Just humor, folks. Just humor. Big Joe Delaney. Big Joe. I got greatest physiques. Big Joe Delaney. All right, we got an image. We're pasting it. We're gonna bring it up so we can look at Big Joe Delaney and present. Screen share. Big Joe Delaney. What do you think of his physique? Shredded wheat. Okay, so obviously he got his diet on, got a photo shoot. Respect. Quads are about where mine are. So anybody that has good wheels has my respect because I know they're not bullshitting in the gym, right? Shoulders lacking a little bit. Arms good. He's a biceps bro, I can tell. I'm going to be disrespectful because I don't know how he trains. Shoulders are a little bit weak. Traps look okay. Chest looks okay. I can't really tell his triceps, but triceps and shoulders look a little bit, I don't know. It might just be the angle, but it's a good physique. 3 years. If I were training you, we would make a goal of probably gaining about 15 to 18 pounds of mass. This dude's close to his natty potential. Do I think he has room to grow on his upper body? Yes. Lower body? Probably no. Those are probably good 26 half wheels. His wabbies are a little bit light. His upper body's probably got 5 pounds to grow. 3 years. I mean, in the shadow of him, yes. I mean, you could gain like 18 to 20 pounds of mass. And if you get lean like you are right now, you'd look close enough to him. So yeah. Thoughts on building an upper chest with no incline? The first thing I would say is don't worry about it. If you have no incline, just do regular dumbbell and barbell overhead and seated and bench press, and you will be fine. You will absolutely be fine. The upper chest, when you just do horizontal and vertical pressing. It's going to be involved in both to a degree, and it'll develop just fine. I don't do a lot of inclines, and I have a pretty big upper chest. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know you like VersaGrips. Understatement, right? Can you elaborate on how they are better than straps? Easier to lock in. 100 times easier to lock in than straps. Straps got rolly. They're more durable. Broken straps. They're more expensive, but the trade-off is they're easier to lock in and they're far more durable. The big thing is they're easier to lock in. What program would you recommend to somebody really weak looking to get stronger? All my programs. If you go to my website, superlivingtoday.com, or you can go here. I have all my programs here for free. You can search the upper posterior. That's probably a good place to start. Stan, thank you for doing it for free. Thank you. Just wants to your reaction. Can't understand what kind of science he's using. Evidence is completely reversed when Paul Cotter says bro splits work. You're right. I mean, earlier last year, Schoenfeld and Carter and all the studies basically on frequency training are flawed. And the science we were looking at in Schoenfeld and Carter echoed this, is that it doesn't really matter when volumes equated. I'm trying to remember. But here's the thing that they found. That in a lot of the frequency training, the reason why the studies were showing that frequency had an advantage, and this is science, this isn't me making up bullshit, this is what they found, is that the frequency studies, they were doing more volume than the body part splits per week. Let that sink in. Science was showing that the frequency training was better, but what they weren't looking at is that the volume in the frequency studies was greater than the volume in the body part splits. So when they equated volume, did the same volume per week on a body part split and a full body workout, it actually slightly showed a benefit for the body part split. This is science. A meta-analysis. This is what Carter commented on. This is what Schoenfeld commented on. Is it hard science saying body part split is better? No, but it shows they're equal when volumes equated, and it shows scientifically there was an issue with how we were processing frequency training. So everybody got on the frequency boat, but what we realized was there's a flaw in the frequency training, that when we were doing frequency training studies, they were giving people more volume, and these undertrained individuals, because they had more volume, obviously their body was responding. When they brought up the volume, or they looked at equated volume studies between full body and body part splits, guess what? They were the same, or there was a trend for a body part split to be better. I'm not making that up, and I'm not a body part pusher. Most of my clients, 80% do splits. I am of the opinion, and I'm going to stress this over and over again so there's no confusion, that it doesn't fucking matter. If you train hard over 10 years, do you really think it fucking matters? Do you really think it fucking matters? There are so many people that think it matters. But I'm glad you brought this up, because it's not talked about enough. Nonsense about more frequency and more volume mean better and faster. I don't know how smart grown men can't use his logic and experience to understand it doesn't work that way. I don't know. Look, I'm right there with you, Rhyme, and I was, being polite, but that type of programming, 6 days a week, 160 hard sets a week, that's meat grinder stuff, right? And we can't say, oh, he's training lighter and more junk volume. No, he's talking about 0 to 3 reps in reserve. So obviously it's more quality sets. So, but in the real world, that's not how people can train. Number one, I know as a coach, I can tell you as a coach. I can tell you because I live in that arena every day of my life. Number one, people do not have the time. Number two, they do not have the recovery abilities. And number three, they're getting the shit beat out of them with conventional volume and hard training. And we have to manage that at this level. Most of my clients, I start them around 72 hard sets a week. The ones that are doing 3 and 3.5 workouts a week, they're more around 54, maybe 60 hard sets a week. This is the average person. In this arena, we have to move things around. Sure, you have some people that can handle more, and then we bring up the volume, but still they're barely above 100 sets, hard sets per week. Dr. Mike's talking about 160 hard sets per week-ish. No, you want my honest opinion? I think it's madness. I think it could work short-term as a volume specialization, but you better be ready to gain 4 to 5 pounds a month to maximize that stuff and recover. So I don't want to go to war over this, but it's just not grounded in real world coaching. It's not, folks. It's not grounded in you, right? And that's the problem with the fitness industry. So much of this stuff is this, right? And I'm not trying to sit here on a high horse at all, but I know what it's like to work with people. Average people. That's not a put down when I say average. It's a spectrum, right? But average people can't take that stuff. 160 hard sets per week, 6 hard training days, 2.5 hours of training a day. That's what pros do because they have all the time in the world to sleep and eat and take megaroids. And it's so disconnected from you. That's not a slam. That's reality. It is so disconnected from you guys. It's nearly double the volume, double the time in gym. And it's going to beat the living shit out of you. It's not realistic. It's not realism. And I don't even know what to call it. And you know what? I'm just a small fry. What do I know, right? And I'm not trying to go to war with Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike will never see this. If he does, I love you. And someone will say, who are you? But it's not. And I agree with you. I think the downsides are going to outweigh the upsides. You're going to get hurt. You're going to burn out. And you're not going to fucking want to train. And then if you have to deload every 4th week just to sustain that volume, that brings your weekly set average down to begin with. I'd rather have a more sustainable volume so you don't have to deload frequently. All right, Larry, is Ripley the greatest action hero ever? I would say so. Like we live in a weird era, like where I don't want to get all political, but I think you all can agree. Like when we prop up, like when they did the She-Hulk, they're like, go women heroes. We've never had women do this before. Like, what? Where y'all been? We didn't need to cheer on Ripley as I don't want to get all political, but you guys know what I'm saying. I was just a young male, right? I was a young male. I didn't give a fuck if Ripley was a male or female. Ripley was my hero. And I think that's what I love when we as human beings can just not be force-fed so much of this stuff, man. I hate this divisiveness. I didn't grow up in that world. My parents weren't like that. People were just people. I didn't look at Ripley as limited because she was a woman. Never once did that cross my mind. Ripley was up there on my Mount Rushmore when I was a kid with Rocky and Arnold, right? Never one damn day in my life did I look at Ripley as a woman. And you take that for what it's worth, right? But that's the way my brain has always been. I think in the modern world, we try to pull people into all these camps, you know, classifying people and put them in little boxes when we're more complicated than that. I don't want to be in a little box. I don't want any of you guys to be in a little box. Life is too fucking exciting to box everybody in. You know, and I'm not political. I'm not Republican, Democrat. I'm leave me alone a crat, right? I let people thrive a crat. Let people be. I want heroes, and I don't want to have to box them in. Ripley is not just the greatest heroine. Ripley's on my Mount Rushmore. She's up there. I know everybody hates Arnold. Arnold said some political stuff that pissed people off, and I get it. And I don't want to get political. But when I grew up, it was Arnold, and it was Ripley, and it was Rocky. And then you can pick your other ones that go up there, you know, like Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris or whatever your thing was. But that was my good starting point, right? And the greatest heroine, I don't know. There was a lot of good women early on and a lot of women in movies. You know, just as there was a lot of people of different races in movies. I didn't even think of them as like black, white, Indian, Mexican. I just watched shit. I didn't care. It was America, man. It was America. You know, I grew up in America. Mexican family next door, Greek family next door. They didn't even, half of them didn't even speak good English. And across the street were more Greeks. And next to them, Polish, Catholics. And, you know, we had this. That's just the America I grew up in. It was normal, right? Not to go down a rabbit trail, but like, that's the America I grew up in. We have people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds and languages, and we busted each other's balls. And then we'd gather at the end of the night on the steps of the porch and hang out. We always got along. That's the America I love. That's the America I grew up in. America where color and sex, who gives a fuck? Just be good people. Congrats to Elite. Thank you. Been bugging them forever. Thank you. I appreciate it. During my kids' soccer practice, I do lunges and push-ups. What other exercise can I do? I like to do pause jump squats where you get down and pause in a position, then you jump up out of kind of a tight position. You can do Bulgarians with your foot on a bench. You can do push backs. I have a video of push backs. You can do pike press. You can do triceps get ups where you're in a plank position and you push up one hand and you push up the other and then you return. You're actually on your you're actually bracing right here like you're doing a plank, and then you're getting up and you're getting up and you're going down, then you reverse it. That's going to work your triceps a lot harder than you think. You can do those as well. That's a really good exercise. Do you consider 4 sets across the same weight and reps to be junk volume? Junk volume really has, when you look at an exercise, regardless of how many sets it has, if it has a progression indicator, or at least some way where you're progressing or forced to push a set for maximum reps, then that whole cluster of sets is probably not junk volume. Does that make sense? If you're just doing 4x10 and has no progression indicator or never has any sets that are pushed, then it's going to be junk volume. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate the feedback. I train every morning, almost a failure, light swimming in the evening. Love going to the gym. Working out like this helps. Sounds like a good plan for health and happiness, my friend. Keep at it. Alexa always has a problem.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
I disconnected her when I moved in here because this is like our temporary home and I never connected her, and she sits behind my computer acting like a spoiled little diva. On your push pull arms legs, it just works for me. That's good. I think we go through cycles of performance whether rest days or not. Yeah, absolutely. I go through performance cycles even when I have everything nailed down to something that's probably, more optimal for me. So very normal. We just got to ride the wave. And that's a very important thing. We do need to ride the wave. We can overanalyze these performance cycles, and like worry about them, but that's just part of life. Stress and cortisol and sleep and all these things, interplay. And when you look at a 10-year progression, you're going to have so many bumps in the road, but you don't worry about them. If you can enjoy the process and learn to ignore those low days, you're on a good path. Big John, are you considering other countries on your tour to the UK and Scotland? For those of you guys that didn't see my Instagram, I'm going to be traveling some next year. That's the goal. I want to have at least 3 days of a meetup in around London-ish. We're still picking out the city, and in Scotland-ish. Then I'm going to do a couple in the United States. Basically, we're going to meet in a gym. We're going to have like a mini seminar. You guys can do Q&As. We'll work on squat form. We'll work on deadlift form. It'll be loose. It's not going to be a full-blown, full day seminar. We'll meet. Maybe we'll train together. We'll go over some lifts. People can ask about specific lifts. We'll do that for a few hours. And I can help each and every one of you on a personal level. Maybe go through a workout together. And then I'd like to do a group hike with everybody, get out and socialize. We did a retreat 3 years ago where people could, we had a cabin, a huge luxury cabin. Everybody paid a little bit of money and we stayed in, and we barbecued, we hung out at night, we ate food, we drank, we went on hikes. We had a wonderful time. So I would like to do this. And not everybody has to do this, right? If they want to come just work out and train, that's fine. But I'm looking at right now Colorado, someplace in the south from Florida to Tennessee, the UK and Scotland, and I would consider other areas, but they have to be areas where I know people would, show up. Like, I don't have a lot of South American following. I have some. I have a lot of following in England and clients in Norway and Sweden and stuff like that. So I'm not against other countries. By the way, huge fan. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody's support. I meant like an online business in the bodybuilding realm without showing my face, still in the progress. Anything's possible. I don't know how I'm just being honest. I don't know how you get around not showing your face, because the internet used to be, and I know because I did content for a living. That was my job. Content development. We used to be able to put out articles and grab search engine reach from Google without, based on the content of the article. So we had a web that was content centric, not personality centric. Web now is more personality centric, so it's harder to gain a following because it's more personality centric. Does that make sense? Have a nice weekend going to deadlift. Smash on, power shrug hell. Cobra Grip's great too. Yes, they are. I don't have any personal experience, so I'm definitely don't smack talk them. I just don't personally have any experience with that brand, but I know a lot of people do. What is the most useless exercise you have seen? Oh, I've seen so many. I hate to be dismissive, Raphael, but I've seen so many stupid, overcomplicated variations of exercises. One of my top trigger ones is when we had bands, 2 leg exercises, and we're like banding around. Like, even like the rest of their exercises suck, have no progressive overload, but we're banding around a lot. I'm not saying that stuff can't have benefit, but you know what I mean. Thanks for your answer on overeating on my bulk. Should I start over tracking for 10 days? Only did like 3 days. Should I start over tracking for 10 days? I think weighing, I'm not a fan of weighing every day, except when you're dialing in your bulk. So I think it's a good idea to have a calorie goal for at least 5 to 10 days and to weigh yourself and have a really good idea of what the trend is. Harut, what do you think about doing really heavy static holds before doing shrugs? Not really, because then your grip is going to be more of a fatiguer. I would rather have you do it once the triceps are toast, when you can't do really any more quality reps. Bert, on a 3-day full body per week, would it be a good idea to add power shrugs? Yeah, you can do that. There's no harm in that at all. Fit them in where you can. If you have time, energy, and the will to train, let it rip. Is it true that you can't train volume frequency without eating a lot? Well, my question would be, why would you want to? I mean, when you don't eat enough or you eat at maintenance level, you're going to slow to whatever degree your muscle building. And it's going to aggravate your pressing. So I don't know why you would do that, to be honest. Society always forgets about the previous strong female archetypes, and the next one is, you're right. There are so many amazing women in my generation. You didn't even think about them, right? You didn't even think about them because there wasn't such a hyper focus on, there just wasn't. When I go deep into a set of back squats, my upper back starts to round. Well, I would like to see a video. You can send me one on Instagram via DM. But a lot of times when you go too deep, either you're trying to go so deep that you're causing butt wink and you get loose in the hole, or your knees are inside, the angle of your knees are inside of the angle of your feet. Okay, so let's see, the angle of feet are here, angle of knees are here. When you get down, you can't go lower anymore because your knees are inside your foot angle. There's no way to go biomechanically, and you just start to fold, right, to try to hit depth. So I would have to see your squat. There's a couple different things that can cause that. What can we expect during your tour in terms of clinics? There's going to be at least an hour block where we work on form on squats and deads. And then probably I'd like at least an hour or two of like classroom Q&A, troubleshooting, being able to work on one-on-one. Whoever shows up, I want you to bring your program in and we're going to work on that, right? I'm going to set you straight on your goals. So I want some one-on-one time with folks. And then we'll have some time where we're working on your lifts, squats, deads, and other. And maybe do a group workout if folks want. And I'm going to try to get a place, like when I say cabin, it's going to be a place to stay, private, where it's big enough where everybody could sleep if they wanted to stay over and come join me. I want to do a group hike. I like to hike. And if anybody wants to stay at night for bullshitting, barbecuing, when we did the retreat, there was about 15 or 20 people there that stayed for 3 or 4 days. And folks don't have to do this, it's optional. But we would get home from the working out stuff and the hiking stuff, and we would sit there and just shoot the bull, smoke cigars, have a few drinks, cook out, eat. It was just a good social time. So there's going to be some of that as well. Getting to know people, right? Who knew that when you write a film with a good story, you can actually have characters, right? You like, rather than shoehorning some political checkbox. Yeah, I'm not either side, man. Like, this works either way. It really does work both ways, politically. And I've already expressed, I don't like to get political. I've heard some people say this is a Republican style movie and this is a Democrat. Can we just not, right? Can we just not? Just have good characters, people with problems, not stereotypes. Any ideas to strengthen the front rack position in front squats? That's just normal. I mean, I hate to be dismissive, but slippage is part of the nature of a front squat. You can hold like this. You can try to do the strap thing where you hold under. You can get the manta ray stingray thing where you rest it on there. There's different ways though. You can try the zombie squat thing, but one of the issues is always going to be slippage, trying to keep the elbows up so there's not slippage. So I don't know that there's specifically any ways to strengthen it other than repetition. Are you built for squat? Am I built for a squat? I have long arms and short legs. I'm not always I'm more of a neutral squatter, probably a more built for deadlift, less built for bench, probably a neutral squatter. Last physique check, but can you please review Wes Watson? Wes Watson. All right, let's see Wes Watson, and hopefully, let's see. I've seen a couple different. Wow. Is this Wes Watson? I'm going to put him on the screen, okay? And I don't always know what guys look like now, so you guys let me know, okay? Present. I don't even always know if I have the right guy. Okay, so is this Wes Watson? Calling all. Is this Wes Watson? Somebody can let me know this is the guy we're looking at. Just drop a comment in. No one's dropping a comment. So I'm going to assume this is Wes Watson. Let me shrink this down a little bit. Can you review whether I'm not going to comment on Wes? It's him. John says it's him. The physique on the right is not natural. No way. No way. You can just tell. You can absolutely tell when you look at it. That's not a natural physique. I'll just leave it at that. Please don't run back. Wes Watson. I don't know Wes Watson from your aunt, but that's not a natural physique. Angelina Jolie and Salt was a badass. Great movie. Hope they make a sequel. Agreed to keep it on the channel to show you a gym from scratch and a full day of eating. Please do a grocery haul. We'll play around. New Year's going to be fun. I'm actually having somebody set up a filming studio with a good camera, so I'll have everything easy to go and a little bit better quality. I'm not going to really dramatically change things, but my desk, I'm going to have a whole filming area, and where I sit down it's going to be a nice camera, and we're going to finally increase the quality a little bit. Paul, Wonder Woman was my hero. I was 5 back in. Yeah, I mean, I didn't sit and go, Wonder Woman's a woman, right? I didn't do that. I watched Charlie's Angels too. And you go like, they're women. I just watched them because it was a good story. Linda Carter was awesome too. A-Team Massive, what's going on, Zach? Bert, thoughts on cable front squats? Wow. A cable front squat on a V-bar. I don't know. I would. You probably have to do volume to get in some good quad stimulation. So I'm not sure how that would shake out. For grip training, I just hang. Hanging is a good form of grip training. You can also do different types of. You can do different pinches, like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 fingers, and thumbs. You can do plate pinches. And then you can do like crush grip training with like your captains of crush grippers. Zach, thanks for the info you put out. I would still be scared of getting deep. I'm glad to hear it, man. You're doing great. Just crushing the ball, crushing strength training. Would you consider a massive coaching light? Yeah, I basically have that on Team Massive. If you want coaching light, Team Massive will give you as much as you want. I'm there for questions. I'm there for program checks. I'm there for 4 form checks a week. We have guys like Tim on Team Massive that basically I watch he uses it. I watch his diet. I watch his form. I watch his workouts. So he's in a safe place. Team Massive is a one-time payment of $99 or $4.99 a month if you don't want to commit for lifetime. And we have to have a gate to keep people out, to keep the riffraff out. But, beyond that, I could do a lighter form of coaching, with build you a program 1 weekly. The problem is the first month is the catch. Because I have to build a workout. I have to talk to you on the phone. We have to dial things in. I don't like this. I like this. I like this. I don't like this. So the first month ends up being time intense. I could offer a service where we just do the normal first month and then lighter check-ins after that. The retreat sounds amazing. Hopefully it'll come close to where I live. I always forget where you live. I'm such an idiot. Are you anywhere close to Colorado? You're out west, right? I'm such a dumbass. Somebody mentioned possibly up near Connecticut, like New Hampshire, Connecticut, Maine, which is Fat Chicken and Barn said Arizona. How far are you from a drive from Denver? Thinking of adding a lever arm seated overhead press to my delt program, but not sure which exercise I could do without. Do I get rid of a rear delt? I would dump the upright row. And you could do the lever arm every other week with a lat raise until you're certain, if you like it or not. And thanks, John. We're almost done, guys. A few comments left. So this is a last call. Jeff, you should come up north and do a seminar. Lots of hiking. Yeah, Jeff, from New Hampshire. I want to hike New Hampshire. I want to hike that area. So I'm thinking about, up around New Hampshire, Connecticut, that area. It's not too far of a drive, so I might do one up there as well. Any issues with doing deadlifts last? Just make sure your back is fresh. And understand you're probably going to have to dial down the weight a little bit, but that's okay. A second coming to New Hampshire. Definitely going to keep that in mind. Caught the end of Massive. Thanks. Carnival is a major player, major person over at Team Massive. Denver's wow. Yeah, shit. That's a haul and a half. one thing we could do, one thing I could do is like when I'm out there, do stops like a couple, a day in Colorado, a day in Arizona, that sort of thing. That would be fun. I think logistically we could work it out. All right, guys, that's it. We're out of here. 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm gonna go get my dog, Buddy Boy. He had surgery today. He had his balls snipped off, and I miss him, and he's probably terrorized. But I'm gonna go get him. I thank each and every one of you for your support. I truly do. I have a couple coaching slots open, so if you need some help, please check out superlivingtoday.com. I also have some whey protein, some creatine, some really quality stuff at superlivingtoday.com. Really good apparel and workouts. Check out the massive collection. It's 354 pages of my workouts for a decent price. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week, and we're out of here.
You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.